Well met, everyone. I am Rich DeLitch, and today I am going to be doing a review on Saltmarsh encounters. This is a PDF that I downloaded off of DM's Guild this morning for $4.95. This product is part of the DM's Guild Adept program. What that is you can see it's indicated by a gold ampersand, which you will see on the front cover, kind of that iconic and symbol of the D&D logo. When you see the gold symbol, or that logo in gold, that indicates that it is part of the DM's Guild Adept program, which basically was started by and is managed by Wizards of the Coast, where they bring in various writers and designers and so on to create content for the DM's Guild. That being said, and the reason why I mention that is there's going to be a certain level of expectation that goes along with that. I would assume the resources that they may have to throw at products of this nature are of decent, if not high quality. The quality control should be good, so therefore we should be seeing some different artwork that Wizards of the Coast has available to them, various resources, so on and so forth, and the writing and the overall design of it should be pretty top-notch. But regardless, I'm going to run it through my system, and after my thoughts, my comments, critiques, and running it through the scoring system that I use, I hope to better inform you as to whether or not this might be some content that's a good fit for you and your gaming group. Let's jump into it. So up first is going to be layout, design, and editing. Let's take a look at what we have. So the aesthetics of it, the parts that draw me into the front cover look really good. Not talking about the artwork yet, but the logo is indicating, as I said, in gold, indicating that we are looking at sort of a bit of a more official DM's Guild product, supported by and created by Wizards of the Coast. We've got the familiar font on the front as we start scrolling through. So there's 22 pages here. Navigation, there is no table of contents. And what I mean with the navigation and table of contents is with the PDF, I can't necessarily figure out what's going to occur when I type in page 14 and so on, right? But as we scroll through, the next page after the front cover is this whatever little introduction splash page, if you will. And then next you go into the credits and then an overview. So it does a very good job of indicating the bold font up above and then what are you going to get within this book. So it's immediately readable. As we move down further, I really like the background of this. It has that almost aqua teal water, right? We're looking at something that's called Saltmarsh encounters. For those that don't know, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, I did a review on it, I think it's the most recently released official WotC product book of an entire series of adventures and whatnot that take place among the sea, among the ocean, seafaring stuff. They have a lot of ships and various aquatic encounters in that official supplement. It's a pretty good hefty book, 100 something plus pages. So these are just supposed to be random encounters that could be used within that sort of an environment and a setting. So this little flourish up top is gorgeous, where it has this random encounters kind of giving us the page heading, this little bit of detail and design. I love the little page design down at the bottom. Everything is laid out in column format. It is easily readable. Layout-wise, it's really good. The very first important part is this large encounter table. You see you've got those little dividers that divide up between odd and even numbers. It just helps your eye navigate through. It's nice and readable. The other thing it does really good is it mentions right here in the beginning, Saltmarsh Encounters, this document, requires use of the D&D 5th edition core rulebooks, the PHB DMG Monster Manual, right? When a creature's name appears in bold type, I'm reading right here. That's a reference to its stat block, most of which can be found in the Monster Manual. If the creature is listed in another source, its stat block is reproduced with permission in Appendix 1. So I like that. It mentions that refer to things in bold, and then you just look elsewhere in another book to find that information. The reason why that's important is because and this is why I obsess about the layout, design, and editing section of my reviews, if your font choice and your use is just, there are too many times where italicized doesn't slant up enough to show any indication of separating itself from normal font. Where the bold font, if you're using too often, font style that looks like this, that already is bold. but are you now just taking this same font style and bolding it? Or is it already defaulted to bold? That's important because it's trying to indicate here that you want to look for the bold things to know when you need to look elsewhere. And by having a really good font use and choice of font style, I can quickly identify right here. When I'm looking at this Big Game Hunters random encounter, immediately, just my eye can immediately be drawn to, I can look for veterans, T-Rex, lizard folk, giant crocodile, berserkers, hydra, knights, and adult black dragon. And I know that every one of those are going to be references or books that I need to look somewhere else to find that information. If the bold stuff was too close to some of the other font, it can be hard to navigate your way through and know, okay, cool, there's a ghast. Where's the information on the ghast? What are the stats I'm looking at? It's alphabetized, you've got nice headings, it just looks familiar. So in that regard, I have to give layout, design, and editing 2 out of 2 points. Up next is artwork. If the front cover is any indication, so I've seen a lot of good artwork. This is as good as it's going to get. I kind of expected there's going to be a few little dabblings and offerings of high-level artwork because you're looking at the entire database and resources that Wizards of the Coast has. I mean, when you have a company that is responsible for Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, you would assume they have just an entire, old school Rolodex, right? An entire plethora, that's a good word, of people and artists of the highest level that they can pull from to get art. And then also as they sort of mix and mash artwork from other sources and various things like that, there are some monsters that are here that are already in the various monster manual, Volo's Guide, Mordenkainen's, and so on. So the artwork on the front cover is absolutely stunning, gorgeous. It's top notch. It is not everywhere, but where it is, this one reminds me, I remember I was in a gallery in Hawaii, I think Whalen Galleries or something. He's just one of the world's best underwater artists. So this just looks really good. As I said, the aesthetic from the layout and then the little bits of artwork that are throughout, it's constantly reminding us that we are looking at something aquatic, that we are looking at something that fits within, as I said, if you know what Ghosts of Saltmarsh offers, we're looking at something that fits within that. So I like that it kept reinforcing visually, aesthetically, layout, not just obviously the encounters and the type of monsters you're going to run into, but artistically, it keeps reinforcing here again, fish. It's good. It's in the right places. I don't think you need art for the Breaking Crab encounter and the Cap and Jackie encounter. And the reason why you don't need art for all of those is because as I look through giant crabs or a Deva or bandit captain or bandits, remember, you're referring now to the monster manual. You're looking there to get that information. Those things are just, I don't know what the hell those are. They're incredible. That just is an awesome, awesome picture. So it's just really well laid out, and it's really well done, and the art that's there in the appropriate places is top-notch. In that regard, I will give art a 3 out of possible 3. Next, let's jump into content. So one thing I always talk about with content is, can I use it immediately now at my table? And or will it at least inspire me to maybe go out and create my own thing, or can I use it elsewhere? So I have Ghost of Saltmarsh content. I have all of the content on D&D Beyond. It provides a lot of good fuel for me, and if I need to, run some seafaring voyage or one part of the quest line of my group is getting on a ship, I can go to that book and find information on the ships, the various makeups of them, and I can print out the little maps and charts they have so that I can say, hey guys, here's what your ship looks like, here's the spaces on it, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of good details, but I'm not currently using anything from Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I'm not using any of those adventures, and I don't know that I am planning to anytime soon. I feel like with the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, it is sort of an all-encompassing kind of all-in into that aquatic, piratey, seafaring type of adventures. So at first I thought maybe I might not have anything to use here, but I did look through the little sample PDF preview that they offered, and I was intrigued. I felt like there's a little bit here. What you are ultimately getting is, as it says right here, I'll read this to you. Random encounters, I'm reading here, can help the Dungeon Master bring a location to life, creating the impression that the adventure takes place within a complex and dynamic ecosystem. Random encounters also help with game pacing, making players feel like genuine effort is involved when they move through potentially dangerous areas. That's an important statement. They also provide fun opportunities for you to improvise and often blossom into ongoing campaign elements. That's a little bit what I was just talking about, is do the random encounters here, even if I'm not running Ghosts of Saltmarsh or even anything necessarily aquatic. Can something here be the catalyst that I can run with to build upon to create more cool story and adventure? You can roll for random encounters as often as you wish, but it's recommended you do so no more than once per day. More frequently than that, and the players may become frustrated at their inability to move the main story forward. So I like that it sort of offers that point of they can help with pacing and make the players feel like it's a process. It's not just a foregone conclusion that you get from point A to point B, when in the storyline I've already explained that the pieces in between are hazardous. But it does recommend maybe don't do it more than once so that you're not just bogging down the pacing of the game and your PC's getting to, the core of the story. So what it's offered here are 60 encounters. It gives you everything that you see right here is what's here. You can pick and choose as you wish, or simply roll a d20 and then just go across. There are 20 encounters that are good random encounters to use if you happen to be within a town, if you happen to be along the coast, or if you happen to be out to sea. So I roll a 13. If I'm in town, I'm going to look for the in the stocks encounter. If I'm rolling a 13 and I'm along the coast, I'm going to use the rule of ghoul. If I'm out to sea, I'm going to use the encounter called need a bigger boat. And as I said earlier, they are laid out in alphabetical order. The other thing I like is it offers a way to scale encounters. It says here that they're aimed at tier 1 parties, so lower level, 1st through 4th. Characters of 1st level may find some of the combat encounters very dangerous, while 4th level encounters or 4th level characters will handle them more easily. However, by the time your group reaches tier 2, so levels 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, what it offers is a way that you can scale up the encounters, where it says if there's ever a single monster mentioned in the encounter, instead roll 1d4 monsters. And if there's ever an indication where there's a number of monsters, such as 1d8 plus 1 giant lizards, it says take that die type and add 2 more. So 1d8 plus 1 for a higher level encounter will become 3d8 plus 1. So I liked it. It just offers a way that you can roll some extra dice to be able to include more monsters for higher level encounters or for higher level PCs, which is a very good thing. So as we look through the encounter table, I'm not going to go over all of them, of course. There's a few here that I'll read through real quick. So right here, Breaking Crab. A cast of 1d6 plus 4 giant crabs with blood-red shells are hulking over an enormous pile of dark green seaweed on the beach. Roll a d4 to determine what lies beneath the seaweed. You might find a suit of chitinous armor. You might find an unconscious middle-aged woman dressed in damp rags. If any magical healing is applied to her, she awakes and reverts to her true form, that of a deva. She does not reveal what her mission is on the material plane or how she ended up incapacitated. She does, however, offer to cast a commune spell in order to assist the characters. If you roll a 3, you have a potion of radiant resistance in an onion-shaped bottle made of green glass and inscribed with an image of the sun. And a 4, the rotting remains of a drowned halfling. She is dressed in dark leathers and wears a silver symbol about her neck, denoting her allegiance to the Harpers. So even though you're dealing with a Ghosts of Saltmarsh thing, other than the reference about the Harpers and I believe Forgotten Realms there, a lot of this stuff can be world free and is world free and setting free. You can figure out how you can interject it. If you have a town in your setting and your PCs are making their way there, they can run into potentially many of these. If your PCs are along any coastline, doesn't have to be the Ghosts of Saltmarsh stuff, you can run the encounters from there. I like that it offers always rolling sort of a d4, which gives you different versions. Like right here, it says the characters encounter a group of creatures hunting a much larger monster. You roll a d4, and that single big game hunters encounter might be different each time you run it, because whether you're fighting veterans, there's a group of veterans from Saltmarsh that are hunting a T-Rex, that can be a very different encounter than a group of d4 plus 1 knights that worship Bahamut and they're looking for the lair of an adult black dragon. Those are two different encounters that are kind of offered within that single bulk big game hunters encounter. So you're getting a lot of variety here. You're not only getting 60 within each of them, you're getting more good bits. As I said, You're getting a good reference point very quickly to know what monsters you need to look up to find those stat blocks. That's the important part of a counter, right? Of what are the capabilities of these things. It does a good job of that. And I do like that even though it's an official book it can point you to with Volo's Guide and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, it's offering at the back of the book these monster stat blocks listed out when it's any monster other than what's in the monster manual. You've got some new magic items. There's not a lot. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the back of the book that are magic items that are referenced within the various encounters. There are, of course, some encounters that are, I don't want to say specific to, but they may kind of fly a little better and just have a little more detail to them, like this one, Skeletal Beasts. This says, Granny Nightshade, you want to see the Dreadwood in Chapter 1 of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Granny Nightshade has been experimenting with the corpses of sea creatures, turning them into skeletons and then releasing them into the Dreadwood's rivers that lead to the Azure Sea. These creatures attack the characters, fighting to the death. Roll a d6 to determine the skeletal creatures the characters encounter. As I said just a moment ago, any one of these rolls can change your encounter each time. But you can see here it references Granny Nightshade, and you want to go back to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. Does that mean that this encounter can only be used if you have the Ghosts of Saltmarsh content or you're using it? No, because Granny Nightshade can be any sort of a haggish type of thing that is doing things within your special forest, your dark wood, and here's various things that are happening. So you can, some things you definitely have to twist and manipulate just a little bit. Some things fit directly right in, but as long as you're using towns, coasts, and something perhaps out to sea, a lot of these are going to fit. So you can fit them in anywhere. They're well laid out. They offer just enough, as I read with the Breaking Crab one. This whole little bit about the Deva and uncovering her, and she offers if you help her. She doesn't reveal what her mission is on the material plane and how she end up incapacitated. But fuel for a DM, I talk about this all the time. The content here gives me something that I can run with to create more from here. And of course, I can just simply use things as is, and I've now got a 1d6 plus 4 giant crab fight that's going to chunk away at some gameplay time. I talk about that all the time. So the other thing that's really good is there's something like this called Drink Up. Somewhere within the briny swamps, there's a mysterious font of pure water, blah, blah, blah. You drink from it once, you get this. You drink from it a second time, you get this. And then you drink from it a third time, you get something bad. There's no actual fight there, but there's little bits of various encounters where, let me see if I find one more. Gift from the Gods. So where is that on the chart? Gift from the Gods. Right here. Out on sea, you roll a 5, and you want a random encounter. I roll a 5, I look along aquatic encounters, and I'm going to go with the Gift from the Gods. Navigating through it very quickly, I get into G. A small gray box is floating on the ocean. It is 1 foot square, 6 inches deep, and badly charred. It is constructed from a highly durable synthetic material that none of the characters have seen before. Anyone examining the box and making a successful DC 12 Wisdom Perception check notices 4 minor indentations on one side. Pressing these simultaneously causes the box to open. Inside is a laser pistol with 10 shots remaining. See Firearms in Chapter 9 of the DMG for more information. Whether you want that level of tech in your world or not, the beautiful thing about this is it's reminding us, as I read through, and there's more like this, maybe not of this tech level, but I like that not all random encounters have to resort to some sort of a fight. It's not just, here's a bunch of things where you tell your players to roll initiative. It's a random encounter. You might meet someone that becomes an interesting bit. It's perhaps a verbal conflict, a social part. It's still an obstacle they need to overcome. I like little things like this because there might be enough here that starts begging some questions from both the players and the DM of like, why is this high level of tech here? It still can fit within the game because it's pointing you, another good point, in the right direction of take a look at Firearms in Chapter 9 of the DMG. Should you choose to. Maybe it's not a laser pistol. Maybe it's just a flintlock, right? Piratey stuff, black powder. But whatever, it just offers some more variety within the encounters themselves. And it does that, and it interjects various encounters like that throughout. Like I said, there are many, many more that are like that, where you might just get some new magic item or something like this and there's no actual fight. So overall, for content, there's just a wealth here. Remember, we're paying $4.95. The writing is top-notch. There's enough good bits to just bring directly to the table that I can just simply say, we've got merfolk and a giant octopus at this numbers, and here's the stat block. If it's not in the monster manual that I can refer to, it shows me in the back of the book, roll initiative, let's fight. There's that interesting one, like I said, if you find something interesting, so that leads and springboards into more future content. And where it needs to reference Ghosts of Saltmarsh and things of that nature, it'll reference it. Take a look at Ghosts of Saltmarsh this chapter, look up this NPC. It does refer to some specific ones within various adventures and storylines within Ghosts of Saltmarsh, but there's a bunch of encounters that don't have anything to do with any specific setting that you can use. And even if it is addressing Saltmarsh specifically, you can twist and turn it and just simply say, well, it's not that NPC, it's just a different zombie hag type guy or whatever. So the content here is on point. I have to give this thing a 5 out of 5. You're just getting a lot of good stuff here for $5. Final score, go out there, get this. It's good for you. That's all I have for you folks. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care.